OK, bonjour tout le monde. Hello everybody. Ceci va être en anglais. Welcome everybody this evening. And this is in regards to our political and civil rights. So anyways, welcome and happy Canada Day, everyone. And hopefully our Canada Days will be a lot better than what they've ever been, starting with the one this year, knowing that we do have rights and the government has to abide by them. And this is what I've been doing in order to be able to make sure that we do get those rights, is that we've scheduled a what we call a gathering over at Parliament Hill on July 30th. You need to make sure that there's nothing else more important on this planet than that day for you, either in your city or join us on Parliament Hill, because that's the day that we officially launch our official right to collective self-determination between Canadians and the Indigenous nations. And it's about honoring the Truro Wampum Treaty, which is about a pact that was made with the Dutch back in 1613 at first contact with the Haudenosaunee, as well as with the French and then with the English. And this is something that the government has not upheld at all. And we as Canadian citizens need to learn about it, need to uphold it, since our government has not done so. They are playing around with the Truth and Reconciliation. They are promising the nations all kinds of things, but never end up usually, finish what they're supposed to do or actually come through with them. And then it gets passed on to another government, and so on and so on and so on. So even though the Pope is coming to see them this month, it doesn't change anything. It changes nothing for them other than finally getting, recognition from the Pope. So, but really it doesn't erase the past, and it doesn't fix the future. The only ones who can fix the future for us and the Indigenous nations here in Canada is ourselves. And this is where we start. Okay. And we've actually officially kind of launched our right to self-determination back in March, on March 3rd of 2022 and of this year. And that was by sending a request letter to the UK to change our constitution, to actually make a correction. And the correction is very important, because what happens is that correction is about who has the true title of head of state. That title has been stolen from us in 1931, and then yet again in 1982 by Pierre Elliott Trudeau and all of the premiers across Canada and the ministers. And what they did is they said that the Canadian people Canada was self-determinating. Canada, not the people, Canada, okay? And that Canada was keeping parliamentary democracy. And that means that only the parliamentarians have democracy in Canada. So when they say that Canada is a democracy, it's only a parliamentarian democracy, not a democracy of the people. So only we can demand to have that changed. But thank goodness that the UK was not that stupid back then, because they are legally responsible for the decolonization of Canadian citizens and the Indigenous nations, since they signed on to the treaty. Well, since they agreed to the treaty and what the UN was going to stand for in regards to our human rights back in the 1940s. And then once they established the UN, and then when the rights to self-determination and decolonization came out in 1966 and one in 1969, I believe. Anyways, that was going to be official within 10 years. So 66. So in 1976, after the 10 years was up, then Canada and the UK both signed on to that agreement. So even though Canada had not legitimized itself legally in 1931 under the Statute of Westminster, So because the Statute of Westminster, 8 months prior to that statute coming out and making all the countries, okay, the corporations themselves and the people independent, Canada refused 8 months prior. So it's very interesting to see what's happening. Why did Canada refuse? Well, they said that we were not ready for it, and that they didn't know how to separate the powers between the provinces and the federal government. So they asked the UK to still, make changes to our constitution when they requested it. So anyways, long story short, actually long story, yeah, not so short. 1982 comes around, and then Trudeau says that we are self-determinating, finally becoming independent from the UK crown. However, does not get the okay for the constitution itself from the people or the Indigenous nations. So the UK gave them 15 years to do so. 3 years for the Indigenous nations, because that is, a priority. And because they are Indigenous, they are true sovereigns of the land here in Canada. And for the Canadian citizens, 15 years total. We're supposed to have 2 referendums within that. One was a no, the other one, they decided not to have it. And then the government and the ministers went behind closed doors and made arrangements, and then tried to say that they had agreed. So through what they call a constitutional convention. So really, again, the people did not speak. They spoke for the people without the people even knowing what was going on. So we need to fix that, and we need to fix that now. Otherwise, we lose our country. So if you are serious about saving this country, saving it for your children, and still having the rights to our natural resources and to our human resources, as well as everything else in Canada and everything that Canada owns, you need to step up to the plate, and it needs to be now. Well, actually, July 30th at Parliament Hill or anywhere. So we need everybody to mobilize. We need everybody to start getting together within your cities and start communicating with everyone, and making sure that you have, asked to be able to. This is not a protest, to gather with the Indigenous nations in your city in celebration of the Turo Wampum. And then we're going to be live streaming, trying to live stream across Canada to see who's doing what. And, no matter how small or big you are, we need the world to hear, and the UK to see, that Canadians across Canada, coast to coast to coast, really want to be the head of state for their country. It is only we that can decide that, not the government in a sense. But the thing is that is already our right. So by law, the UK has the right to bring in a motion from the Minister of Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs in the UK. She could bring a motion to the floor of Parliament, and then ask a vote on agreeing to actually correct our constitution and make that change for us. And it could be done within 1 week's time, or even a couple of days' time. So we need to put some pressure there, people, because we've sent that letter on March 3rd. We were waiting. We were not in a rush for that, because we needed to get people on board. We needed to educate people. We needed to get the nations to know what was going on. And the lawyer that we wanted was not available until the end of this month, last month. And hopefully now he'll be ready to move forward. But what you need to realize is that we're stuck with a bunch of fees, and he won't be able to go any further than what we already have in our trust fund. So, which is very little, because 1 week's work for him is $22,000 Canadian, because the lawyers are paid over there, which is very minimal. For him is $400 an hour. Okay, $400 an hour euro. Okay, and then we had some of the lawyers that were $600 an hour euro, and we thought, nah, we want this guy because he knows his way around our rights. And this firm also has an international team for the international courts and so on. So we were best to stick with this gentleman, and then wait for him to have time for us. So this could be extremely huge for everybody worldwide. Right now, in the hands of Canadian citizens lays the future of the entire planet if we move and we do what we're supposed to be doing, which is stand together and unite, and which is what the Canadian government never wanted us to do between the French people, the English, and the Indigenous nations. The Indigenous nations have every right to be equal partners with us in our Constitution, which would correct the reconciliation. It would help the reconciliation as bringing them on as our partners in our Constitution, instead of just giving them Section 35 of rights. So as equal partners, I think we can make this work. It would help a lot of their peoples and even our people to understand and respect the fact that everybody needs to get along, and understanding the Truro Wampum Treaty that we're going to be explaining on the Hill on July 30th. I think will wake up a lot of people. We're going to have two belts to raffle. One is the Truro Wampum, and then you have the Silver Covenant Chain Agreement, which is another smaller wampum belt for friendship. And in that friendship is that you have to the Truro Wampum Treaty is about the canoe and the boat going through down the river of life together. And then the Silver Covenant Chain is to make sure that everybody's equal and never surpasses the other and one is not left behind. So that's what those belts mean. And it's important that, we all honor that. Now I'm reading here, police start beating up peaceful Canadians in Ottawa. It makes me sick. Okay. Now, first of all, we don't know what some of the things that happened. We don't know what actually transpired there. So don't freak out, people. We don't know what these people did until we know all the stories. We're not going to assume anything. And in Ottawa, what we have done is I have let the parliament security and the city security know that actually the not the city security, but the one who handles the marches and that know that we know our rights, and that even with what we are doing in self-determination, I explained in an email everything that we were doing, so there's no hidden agendas. They can't add things to what we are doing. Everything needs to be peaceful, nothing derogatory. We're not there to protest. It is not a protest. It is a gathering of the nations coming together, the Canadian citizens and the Indigenous nations, so that we can move along to a better way for all of us, and for it to start on July 30th. So everything's going to continue after that. But what we're trying to do is make sure that the city of Ottawa now will understand the rights that the city has, which we have to honor, and the rights of the people who are going to be there to self-determine together, as well as the right to assembly. So this is why it's so important that you see the document that I'm going to be sending to the mayor of Ottawa this weekend. He'll have it on his desk probably Monday morning, and by fax, as well as to the RCMP and all of the police departments in Ottawa, to make sure that they fully understand what rights the police have and the rights that they do not have. So this document is important for you to have. We have it in French and English, and I will show you exactly where to find it on our website. Okay, so I'm also trying to get the attention of the what you call I forgot the name. Cheapers. The rapporteur, okay, the UN rapporteur for political and civil rights. And I think I have to explain to him a little bit of what's been going on, but he should be able to give us a letter to warn the government and the city of Ottawa of their rights, and of the rights that we have. But a lot of people don't understand their rights, and this is where everything goes wrong, and neither do the police, by the way. And they think that this is how it can be done. Right now, what Canada is doing with the police are doing in Ottawa, which I saw in regards to yesterday, they are not in their rights, depending on the situations, depending on the circumstance. and they certainly do not have the right to be walking around Parliament Hill or anywhere in Ottawa with big guns. Okay, that is not tolerated. In regards to what we are doing, we have the right to assembly. We have the right to do it, or even if it's just a last minute thing, we don't need to warn them. We still have those rights where we choose, but at the same time, we can't stop people from making money in their businesses and things like that. So no trucks allowed. Okay, people, if you want your rights, please respect everyone's rights as well as your own, and don't expect only your own to count and nobody else's. So we all have to unite peacefully and do this properly and get the people to really, view the city. This is going to be a Heritage Day weekend, long weekend right across Canada. And unfortunately not in Quebec, but they've had theirs. So anyways, now we want to make sure that people have fun, that you get educated at the same time, and that you get counted. First way to get counted, you go to our website at ThePowerShift.ca. You start reading about our event, and then just below you'll see a little video on how to e-sign your convention of consent. Watch the video, learn how to do it, and then please press the button, go and sign your convention of consent. Get everybody that you know to sign it. Every child 15 years old and up can sign it as well. Okay, because this is for the rights of everybody, and we need to make that count. So as many signatures as we can get is good. We've already warned the UK that we were going to keep doing our self-determination, whether they like it or not. And really, it's not up to them to really decide what happens in Canada, as long as the people together agree. To be the actual head of state, and that the government cannot override our rights, because being the sovereign doesn't mean that you have any rights either. Okay, from what we've seen at the international level, there's different meanings to sovereign, and you need to understand the differences in meanings. And being a sovereign for a country doesn't mean that you have any rights. In France, they are the people are the sovereigns, and they don't have any rights over the governments, other than going to court and gathering 560,000 people if they're so lucky, and then trying to proceed with going to court. In the United States, same story in that sense. The people do not have any more rights in the United States, even though they're a republic. We do not want to become a republic, because it's just call it a republic or a monarchy, constitutional monarchy, same thing. Okay, it stinks just as much either way. So we don't have to change anything. We don't have to call ourselves anything else, as long as we change Section 9 of the Constitution in the UK, because it still sits in the Parliament at the UK, and the UK still has parliamentary sovereignty, which is why Canada could only say that they were taking they were keeping parliamentary democracy until everything was ratified, and Canada knew this, and so did Trudeau. Okay, so anyways, now we can move on with that. That is a right that we have. It's already ours. It's already a done deal. Now you all need to start acting as such. I've also told in my emails to the Parliament security, and the other one was that even the police officers, the government employees, the police are all members, are all equal shareholders of the Crown of Canada, along with the Canadian citizens. Their employment status does not supersede their right as a citizen to sign the Convention of Consent and to stand with us. So we invite everyone, the RCMP, the police, to sign your Convention of Consent. All of the Ottawa employees, please be there with us, stand with us. Instead of criticizing the people coming to Ottawa, you're part owners too, and you need to stand up with the people standing up for you right now. So that is very, very, very important, because the employees in Ottawa are the ones who have led this country. have made sure that everybody got their checks properly, their pension checks and everything else. And we know some of these people. So we need to send you back to work where you belong. We need to make sure that the government is accountable to that restitution is made for everything that you've lost, your suffering and everything else, and everybody else's, just like, the people at Canada Post. The Canada Post, workers are also the employer of Canada Post. So you need to start seeing yourself that way. You are a shareholder, co-owner of the Crown of Canada. Now, this right is not going to deliver itself to your door. There's a lot of work to be done here. We have to prove that we're old enough to decide for our country, but you can't make decisions if you don't know what's going on. Otherwise, you'll make the wrong decision. So everybody needs to get educated. Everybody needs to educate the children, which is going to be the first step once we finalize, we get through July 30th, is to make sure that the government we enforce a curriculum in governance for the education system to teach political science and all of these things and the law to our children so that they know. Okay, we can't do this half-assed. We can't miss our shot at this. We need to behave, and we also need to be intelligent. So I'm counting on you to be that. And like I said, freedom comes at a cost. That cost is to always be on guard, to never lose it. Because how did we lose it? Oh, I'm going fishing. Oh, I need to get to the mall. I need to get my hair done. I need to get my nails done. Oh, I don't like politics. I don't want to talk about politics. You'll never need that. Yet, price of bread, everything that you do, even when you're sleeping, politics happens 24/7, people. The price of bread, the price of milk, the price of whatever, the food you eat, that's politics. And guess what? It's your business. And if you don't take care of your business, it's being sunk to the ground by those who have stolen it from us. And if you're not responsible enough to stand up for your country, to make whatever sacrifice you need to make that sacrifice, for your country, you need to make it now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. You need to make it your every waking moment from here to when we have our rights established. And until we do, you do not stop. I've been at this for 13.5 years now. I have sacrificed my only son. Okay. I came here on Six Nations to see how we could get together to fix this and to warn them. 13 years later, I'm still here. It took all this time to find the loopholes, all this time to find the legalities, all this time to find that there is no other solution. Everything else is a waste of energy until we have our rights. You cannot destitute a prime minister or a premier or anybody else, or call for how do you call that, vote of no confidence. That belongs to the politicians, not you. And until you realize you do not have that right, you will be chasing your tail. And while everybody's chasing their tails, we will lose this country. And that's the sad reality to the global governance that is coming, already established in 2017 in our computer systems in Parliament. How many people can say, yes, Nicole, it's true? Oh, now we are only clients in our computer systems in government. Why are we clients? Because since 1993, we have been given away all of our management of our businesses, our corporations, our government duties to private corporations. The private corporations, most of them have over 60%, well, at least 60% control over these public-private partnerships, these new corporations, which means that the government has zero say when it comes to a vote. So you have to understand how shareholders work in a corporation and how votes are distributed. So in Canada, we each have one equal share ownership of being able to speak and to say our piece on everything that happens in this country, whether you're in BC and something happens in Quebec or in, how can I say, Nova Scotia or Gaspé, it's your business. It is your business. The Albertans do not own the oil, do not own the rights to the oil in Alberta. That's owned by all Canadians across Canada and Indigenous nations. So you need to know that there are ways that we can better our lives if we get together and think and organize properly and make sure that our governing officials, because we're not throwing, we're not getting rid of government. We can't get rid of government. We have to have a government, but it doesn't say that the government can overrule us. It can overrule whatever we decide that they do. Garbage pickup. Hey, they can deal with garbage pickup. We'll let them handle that one. Okay. First, we need to pick up our own garbage in governance, clean that up, and be able to move on from there. So politicians, political parties need to be non-existent, because why? Political parties only, how can I say, actually, they toe the party line. They do not, when you go and vote, you give away your rights. You give the politician your proxy. They become the politician you vote for or wins becomes the proxy of everybody in Canada. And then they make the decisions to do whatever they want. But who do they work for? First of all, they work for their political party. They have to toe the party line. Well, who controls the party? But the heavy hitters who give them money, funding, who actually, control them. Okay? If they want to keep getting the money, they have to do what these people say. So is it the Canadian citizens that get their voice heard in Parliament? No. Once you stop and think about this, you have to read, okay, what's Parliament? And then you have to find out what Parliament allows, what it doesn't, when a political party comes in. And when you want to become, because Canada gives you some rights, some political and civil rights, but it only gives us the right to present ourselves for elections, okay, as a political party, or to vote once every 4 years. That's it. But there's a lot more rights. So we're going to get to this, and you'll be amazed. So we have the right to assembly. We have the right to protest. We have the right to do all kinds of things. And I want you to really read these documents, because if you do not read it, if your life and your future is not important enough to read 18 pages, then you need to back off. Shut up and take whatever's going to come to you, because if you're not that interested in reading about your rights and your future and everything else, and working at this with every other Canadian citizen to make sure it happens, then you need to get off Facebook. You need to, hey, we don't need slackers. What we're looking for are people who are going to do this till the day they die, either till the day they die or the day that we get this done. It can get done very fast, but we can only go so fast as the other Canadian citizens help us financially, physically, emotionally, and to do the work, volunteering. Okay. So right now, I'm not going to worry, Teresa, about blocking bots. Just let them be. Pretend they're not there, and we'll clean it up after. There's only so much that we can do. I can't talk and try to concentrate and then block bots. Okay, this is Facebook. So, I'm sounding facetious here, but let's focus on what is important, people. Okay. The importance is that we get recognized as the true head of state of Canada, which should have been ours. which is ours, which does belong to us, and it's already a fact. Okay? So after that, in the meantime, while we're doing on this, please dare to dream of what kind of a Canada you want to see. Okay? Give your suggestions, do all this, because the lawyers have asked me, Nicole, what happens after, you get your rights tomorrow? What happens? First of all, we've got open government that allows us, that the government already did for the world governance, but we close that off at the national level. Paperwork's already done, folks. And then we start getting involved. What if you were able to figure out something for your community, okay, that we can do together, and then raise those funds, get this going, and the employees and the community would get funding back, and Canadian citizens would get a percentage. These are all things that are doable. So instead of taxation, we'd be getting dividends. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel here, but first you got to do the work. We are the boots on the ground, not Jesus, not God, not nobody else. It ain't gonna, the evildoers don't care about Jesus or God or anybody else, or about you praying for Jesus or praying for Jesus to come and help, because really that prayer is for you. You need to help us. Everybody needs to help each other. Okay? And that's what people need to focus on. Because if we focus on this, Canadians have the power to change the world. Imagine. Come July 30th. We get enough funding and get enough lawyers to be able to back our lawyer in the UK, so that we can hire all those other lawyers interested. Right now, we can't afford to hire them. So that court case, or like if we have to bring a court case to force Parliament, the minister to bring it to Parliament, we don't need to have a court case about who's right and who's wrong. That's already a done deal. We are the actual shareholders, co-owners of the Crown of Canada. We are the public. We own this country, not the government. A government cannot own itself under a paper crown, okay? So it is the people, it is the sovereigns of the country. We're responsible for the debt. We own the country. This is what they did in the 1930s to assure, when they created representative democracy. That was created as a coup d'etat to say, hey, well, we don't need to listen to the Queen anymore, or to Tom, Dick, or Harry. We the people rule, and we're going to form political parties, and we're going to do what the people want us to do. That was their little song and dance, but behind, they made sure that never happened. Same with the American Constitution is bullshit. Excuse my language, okay? Because when the people can't get together and change their governing system in the United States, and they get forced vaccinated and whatnot and everything else too, are they free? No. That's the biggest crock I've ever heard. Are Canadians free? Biggest crock I ever heard too. We have one of the best countries, built on lies, built on falsehoods by Canadians who think they're free, who think this is the greatest country in the world because, oh, we're free, we're free. Freedom for what? You're a free slave, maybe. But do you get any benefits back? No, we get the minimum. If you really read the charter, they only need to give us the bare minimum of protection, the bare minimum of healthcare, the bare minimum of happiness in our lives. Okay? What's missing in our Constitution? The people. Okay? So the people need to get together, and it's the people who need to wake up and enforce the rights we already have. We don't have to fight for those rights. We already have them. We just have to show up and say, yeah, we're doing this legally. Okay? So I'm going to do a screen share. I don't want to do this too long. I'm just going to go over here, do a screen share, and make sure that we're on the ball here. Okay. And share. Okay. So this is a document. It's the United Nations CCPR. Okay, I'm just going to open this up a little bit. But first, I want to show you where to get this on our website, because we have it in English and French. And I'm just going to go here. Oops, look at that. Okay, that's not quite right. Whoa, where am I here? I just lost everything. Okay. 1 second, people. My mouse is lost. Oh, there we go. There we go. Haha, that's not what I'm looking for. But anyway, we're going to come here. Okay, so when you come to our website, I'm just going to move that up here. Okay, so you come to our website, ThePowerShift.ca. You go to blog right here. Okay, I'll click on blog. And then you'll see that Rhonda has it. I had her posted the other day because I was too much in a rush. So it says people have the right to demonstrate peacefully and governments should respect that. Okay, so you click on that and it'll bring you to the final page. Okay, oops, move myself out of there here. People have the right to demonstrate peacefully and governments should respect international law. And in this was a write-up that I put together so that it makes sense to use all. So this was law before the convoy. All the politicians who voted for the Emergency Act to be implemented are in huge legal trouble. So please, people, go back to when that was voted in and read about all the names that voted for this. And those that didn't want to put their name to that either as a yes or no and just played dumb. Okay. So now I wrote this July 29th. And how do you define lawful peaceful protest? Okay. This was an article that I found this through, and it says the UN Human Rights Committee has a clear answer. So please share this. People have the right to demonstrate peacefully, and government should respect international law and let them do so. Senior UN appointed independent rights experts said on Wednesday. And the legal advice is from the UN Human Rights Committee, whose 18 experts monitor how countries implement the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So the one in Canada has done half-assed. We don't have all of our rights, and Canada needs to be penalized for it ASAP. Now, the panel's general comment notes that protesters have the right to wear masks or hoods to cover their face, and that government should not collect personal data to harass or intimidate participants. They're not even allowed to listen to your phone, people. Okay. Now, focus on racial justice. The development comes at a time of worldwide protests in support of the Black Lives Matter movement and clarifies how peaceful assembly should be understood by the 173 countries which have ratified the covenant. So they came back together after, during the Black Lives Matter thing. So committee member Christoph Heinz said that it was a fundamental human right for people to gather, to celebrate, or to air grievances in public and in private spaces, outdoors, indoors, and online. Everyone, including children, foreign nationals, women, migrant workers, asylum seekers, and refugees, can exercise the right of peaceful assembly, he added. Generalized references are not enough. So here I wanted you to pay attention to this here, okay? The committee's advice also notes that governments could not prohibit protests by making generalized references to public order or public safety or an unspecified risk of potential violence. The city of Ottawa should not be blocking streets unless it has something to truly fear. Well, what's that definition? Okay. Now, in addition, governments cannot block internet networks or close down any website. They closed ours because of their, well, not our website, but our Facebook page. Not because of their roles in organizing or soliciting a peaceful assembly, according to the committee. So everything that they did to the convoy, they were not supposed to do. It also stressed the right of journalists and human rights observers to monitor and document any assembly, including violent and unlawful ones. General comment number 37, 2020, on the right of peaceful assembly, and this is the document where you can go and get it, okay, directly from the UN, or you can you'll be able to download it from us. Now, human rights instruments, core instrument, universal instrument. Okay, this here again is International Covenant on Political and Civil Rights, adopted December 1966. Okay, that's our actual rights that you can go and download here too. Now, I added what you call Pacta Sunt Servanda, and that is a Latin term for meaning that all treaties, all agreements need to be respected. Okay, and that's an international law and an international requirement, which means that all of these laws that Canada signed onto are automatically embedded in our Constitution, whether the government admits to it or not, because on the government website, the judges should be shot here in 1982. Seriously, I'm just kidding. But they wrote that, well, if you, even though that the federal government, the government signed on to these pacts, these agreements, these conventions, they, as long as, if they have not made a law for it yet at the national level, then it doesn't really count, which is BS. Okay, so I've discussed that at length in our letter to the UK, in our letters to the UK, and it has been determined at the international, everywhere, even in the UK. So since our constitutional still sits in the UK legislature, it is going to be ruled through the UK legislature. What is the law in the UK legislature? Well, all of these rights are already embedded in our Constitution, even though the Canadian government left out all of our other rights under political and civil rights, as well as rights to decolonization, or to self-determination and self-governance. So they're full of crap, and now they need to know that. They need to know that we all know that, and you need to know that. Okay, and your children need to know that too, and where that comes from, because you can't just regurgitate what I'm telling you and say, well, Nicole said this and this and this. You need to be able to produce the papers. If you're going to speak about something, be able to produce the papers, okay? Or else don't mention it at all, because you're going to get caught not knowing what you're talking about, or they're going to assume you don't know what you're talking about, and then you're going to lose someone. So always document, okay? It's the best medicine for you. Now, it is a principle of Canadian, Pacta Sunt Servanda is not only a central principle of public international law, it is a universal principle of law to be found in all major legal systems. It is a principle of Canadian civil and common law. It is to be found in a host of federal and provincial statutes. For this and for the other reasons given, it is incumbent on the Canadian judiciary to adopt an approach to public international law that promotes respect for Pacta Sunt Servanda by recognizing that Canada's treaty obligations regulate the exercise of executive power in the domestic as well as the international sphere. This means that right now, up to date, all of the court cases that we've had over this charade of a farce in regards to, the last 2 years, the judges are guilty of that. They neglected that on purpose because they should all know. Okay. All the judges should know all of this stuff. And if they don't, they need to get the hell off the bench, because that's corruption to the core and ignorance. And we don't need stupid judges or ignorance to cost the lives of people and affect them the way that they have. So here, UN Special Rapporteur, Christian, well, I think it's Christian Hull, I'm not sure, welcomes a groundbreaking and authoritative new interpretation that the right of peaceful assembly extends to digital activities. He says it is particularly relevant during COVID-19 when so many peaceful gatherings have moved online. Okay, so then you can go and see who he is over here, and then we go down here, and this is the document, people, okay, that we want you to download. Okay, you can see it here. You can download it online. So here they cover what's important is, I'm just going to make it smaller so that you can see it bigger. Or actually just go here. Okay. And that should work. Okay, introduction. The fundamental human rights of peaceful assembly enables individuals to express themselves collectively and to participate in shaping their societies. The right of peaceful assembly is important in its own right, as it protects the ability of people to exercise individual autonomy in solidarity with others. Together with other related rights, it also constitutes the very foundation of a system of participatory governance based on democracy, human rights, the rule of law, and pluralism. Peaceful assemblies can play a critical role in allowing participants to advance ideas and aspirational goals in the public domain and to establish the extent of support for or opposition to those ideas and goals. Where they are used to air grievances, peaceful assemblies may create opportunities for the inclusive, participatory, and peaceful resolution in differences. And you'll be shocked when you read this document, what they say about derogatory things and that, okay, in regards to the government. Now, the right of peaceful assembly is moreover a valuable tool that can and has been used to recognize and realize a wide range of other rights, including economic, social, and cultural rights. It is of particular importance to marginalized individuals and groups. Failure to respect and ensure the right of peaceful assembly is typically a marker of repression. Okay. The first sentence of Article 21 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights provides that the right of peaceful assembly shall be recognized. The right is articulated in similar terms in other international and regional instruments, and its content has been elaborated upon by monitoring bodies, for example, in their views, concluding observations, resolutions, interpretive guidelines, and judicial decisions. In addition to being bound by international law to recognize the right of peaceful assembly, the vast majority of states also recognize the right of their national constitutions. The right of peaceful assembly protects the nonviolent gathering by persons for specific purposes, principally expressive ones. It constitutes an individual right that is exercised collectively. Okay, so always collective, people. First, it's personal, then it's collective. Inherent to the right is thus an associative element. Everyone has the right to peaceful assembly, citizens and non-citizens alike. It may be exercised by, for example, foreign nationals, migrants, documented or undocumented asylum seekers, refugees, or stateless persons. So just because you're not a citizen, doesn't mean you can't protest. Now, Article 21 of the Covenant protects peaceful assemblies wherever they take place, outdoors, indoors, and online, in public and private spaces, or in combination thereof. Such assemblies may take many forms, including demonstrations, protests, meetings, processions, rallies, sit-ins, candlelight vigils, and flash mobs. They are protected under Article 21, whether they are stationary, such as pickets, or mobile, such as procession or marches. In many cases, peaceful assemblies do not pursue controversial goals and cause little or no disruption. The aim might indeed be, for example, to commemorate a national day or celebrate the outcome of a sporting event. However, peaceful assemblies can sometimes be used to pursue contentious ideals or goals. Their scale or nature can cause disruption, for example, of vehicular or pedestrian movement or economic activity. So you got to watch not to interrupt a vehicular, pedestrian movement, or economic activity. Okay, that's very important. These consequences, but again, to a certain minimum. So these consequences, whether intended or unintended, do not call into question the protection such assemblies enjoy. To the extent that an event may create such disruptions or risks, they must be managed within the framework of the covenant. Okay, so you got to work around these things. And that's why you work with the police or the RCMP, or that the groups have to establish places for people to sit or go and march or whatever. So the recognition of the right of peaceful assembly imposes a corresponding obligation on state parties to respect and ensure its exercise without discrimination, and they can't discriminate. So this requires states to allow such assemblies to take place without unwarranted interference, and to facilitate the exercise of the right, and to protect the participants. The second sentence of Article 21 provides grounds for potential restrictions, but any such restrictions must be narrowly drawn. There are, in fact, limits on the restrictions that may be imposed. The full protection of the right of peaceful assembly is possible only when other, often overlapping rights are also protected, notably freedom of expression, freedom of association, and political participation. Protection of the right of peaceful assembly is often also dependent on the realization of a broader range of civil and political rights, and economic, social, and cultural rights, where individuals' conduct places them outside the scope of the protection of Article 21. For example, because they are behaving violently, they retain their other rights under the covenant, subject to the applicable limitations and restrictions. So you really need to read all of it, okay? Now, the way in which assemblies are conducted and their context changes over time. This may in turn affect how they are approached by authorities. For example, given that emerging communications technologies offer the opportunity to assemble either wholly or partially online, and often play an internal role in organizing, participating in, and monitoring physical gatherings, interference with such communications can impede assemblies. While surveillance technologies can be used to detect threats of violence and thus to protect the public, they can also infringe on our rights to privacy and other rights of participants. So even though they made those claims during a peaceful assembly, they don't have the right to do that. Bystanders and have chilling effect. Moreover, this has increased private ownership and other forms of control of publicly accessible spaces and communication platforms. Considerations such as these need to inform a contemporary understanding of the legal framework that Article 21 requires. So here you'll have Section 2, scope of the right of peaceful assembly. And these are really interesting. And then it goes down to, I'm not going to read it all to you, but that was just to give you an idea of what to expect, okay? So the one that I really like here is the question of whether or not an assembly is peaceful must be answered with reference to violence that originates from the participants. Violence against participants in a peaceful assembly by the authorities or by agents provocateurs acting on their behalf does not render the assembly non-peaceful. Okay, so they can't claim that the convoy was non-peaceful. The same applies to violence by members of the public aimed at the assembly and by participants in counter demonstrations. This is a document they need in court right now with every lawyer across Canada to have in their possession. Okay, as well as with the right of the non-derogation of our political and civil rights, even during pandemics or COVID or emergencies. So even calling the emergency measures was wrong. And with us, even though they call emergency measures, we have the right to self-determination. The government is obligated to help us achieve that self-determination, and also has to eventually financially help us get this done. Like, once we do this on July 30th, then the government should be able to allow us to have the use of not the use of Parliament, but to be able to have a letter and send that to everybody across Canada in their mailboxes for free, so that we're allowed to reach every other Canadian citizen. Or that we decide to have a survey to send it right to everybody. This is the legality that stands on our side, but we need to show that there's enough people interested in this, that there is public interest. So we need your help on that as well. We need to be able to raise funds. I mean, we're not going to go far. People, I'm going to tell you right now, all we've raised in almost 2 years is $35,000. Okay, that's it. We've had memberships that we've had to help to keep us going year after year. So when you're looking at donations, okay, online donations like that, that's all we did. So we're the group that has, I think, made the least, but has the most potential to save this country. So as Rhonda keeps saying, we're going to get this done as fast as everybody else helps us. Nobody helps us, it won't get done. So anyways, this keeps going and it gets even better. Okay, so now this is the obligation of state parties regarding the right of peaceful assembly. So this is section 3 that I want you to really look at. Okay, negative duty entails that there be unwarranted interference. Okay. Okay, so again, here it says states must leave it to the participants to determine freely the purpose of any expressive content of an assembly. Okay, so this comes to to call Trudeau names or whatever. So this is where I wanted everybody to kind of really read this here. Okay, so the approach of authorities to peaceful assemblies and any restrictions imposed must thus in principle be content neutral. So they can't say, oh, well, it's because they're doing racial, like the slurs at Trudeau and whatnot, and must not be based on the identity of the participants or their relationship with the authorities. Moreover, while the time, place, and manner of assemblies must, under some circumstances, be the subject of legitimate restrictions under Article 21. Given the typically expressive nature of assemblies, participants must, as far as possible, be enabled to conduct assemblies within sight and sound of their target audience. So it has to be, they have to allow us to be close enough that they can hear us. Okay, and again, they can't be saying, well, you can't have an assembly because you've got protest signs that are derogatory. They can't use that. Okay, now the obligation to respect and ensure peaceful assemblies imposes negative and positive duties on states before, during, and after assemblies. The negative duty entails that there be no unwarranted interference with peaceful assemblies. States are obliged, for example, not to prohibit, restrict, block, disperse, or disrupt peaceful assemblies without compelling justification, nor to sanction participants or organizers without legitimate cause. Okay. So moreover, state parties have certain positive duties to facilitate peaceful assemblies and to make it possible for participants to achieve their objectives. So they have to help us. Now, states must thus promote an enabling environment for the exercise of the right of peaceful assembly without discrimination, and put in place a legal and institutional framework within which the right can be exercised effectively. Specific measures may sometimes be required on part of the authorities. For example, they may need to block off streets, redirect traffic, or provide security where needed. States must also protect participants against possible abuse by non-state actors, such as interference or violence by other members of the public, counter demonstrators, or private security providers. So the police is supposed to help us managing the people and, make sure that if they need the street blocked off so nobody can come in and disrupt us, they have to block the street. Okay, so they've been doing this, upside down, let's say. So anyways, I'm not going to keep reading here, but at the same time, it goes to show you that you really have to understand this. You have to read everything. You have to kind of say, okay, well, in certain situations, the cops are right. Other situations, they're wrong. What is it? How do we handle this? So, and what I tried to explain in the French live yesterday was that we have the right. This is not legal advice. This is us talking with our members, with all other Canadian citizens, who we are trying to collectively unite under our right to collective self-determination. So they wouldn't be able to say, well, Nicole's giving out legal advice. No, it's not legal advice. This is our rights that we're explaining. This is a done deal here. This is what we need to look at to make sure everybody's protected. Okay. And that, yes, the lawyers do need this in court so that they can protect everyone. Okay. So one of the things, it goes down, there's a little bit, there's another one further down here. Okay, here, the fact that an assembly provokes or may provoke a hostile reaction from members of the public against participants, as a general rule, does not justify restriction. The assembly must be allowed to go ahead, and its participants must be protected. See paragraph 18 above. However, in the exceptional case where the state is manifestly unable to protect the participants from a severe threat to their safety, restrictions on participation in the assembly may be imposed. Any such restrictions must be able to withstand strict scrutiny. In unspecified risk of violence or the mere possibility that the authorities will not have the capacity to prevent and neutralize the violence emanating from those opposed to the assembly. So they have to protect us from those opposed to the assembly. So really, you have the right to be there. And even though Ottawa citizens who don't understand what they're standing to lose with what this government has been doing and what's been imposed upon us, they need to stand with the people instead of trying to stop or allowing the mayor to use them as a shield against protesters. Because we own this country, not the mayor of Ottawa. The city of Ottawa is owned by all Canadian citizens. We all have a vested interest in it. And especially the people of Ottawa need to get their shit together, excuse my language, but they need to get with it and stand up for what is right. And that's our right to be in our Constitution, to be the final decision makers for a country, along with the Indigenous nations on their side. Otherwise, we're going to lose it all. So it's up to the people to decide. We're giving you everything possible. We're bringing everything to you, but we need you to act. We don't have time to play zombie mode anymore. We need to move on. So I know that I sound a little, somebody called me, said, Rhonda was sugar and Nicole is spice. Well, I'm not spicy enough because obviously nobody's listening. But anyways, it's not that I'm spicier, it's just that I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I want people to do their jobs. I want everybody to take their responsibility. I want everybody to be able to live the way they deserve in a country that they deserve. And if we do nothing, then we do not deserve this country. Okay. So I will leave this. Now you know where to get it. But anyways, it's 18 pages. See, I'm just up to 10. But you need to read the whole thing because towards the end, it really, notification regimes, duties and powers of law enforcement agencies. You will read it about it here. I wasn't done highlighting everything, but this is very important that you know what the law agencies have the right to do and not to do. Assembly during states of emergency and armed conflict, all of these things. The cops are not supposed to be in downtown Ottawa with horses, nor to intimidate or have the rifles that they had at the convoy. Okay, so even this information needs to go to the inquiry. So anyways, I will leave you with that and come back here. And as you see, it's getting darker out here. And anyways, it's really important that you know your stuff. It's really important that you know your rights. It's really important that people get together and unite. And freedom is not cheap, people. It's going to cost us a lot of money for our lawyers, both in Canada and in the UK, and we need your help. We don't like to beg for money. We don't like to always talk about that. But, it's ridiculous that we're the least being helped with the biggest amount of possibility to save our country. So it's up to you. I know that there's only so much money to go around, but again, there's a lot of money that can go around, and to help us pay for this, and the faster we are helped, the faster this can get done. And instead of asking us every 5 minutes, oh, when's it getting done? When is it getting done? Well, it'll only go as fast as people help us financially. We can't pay for the lawyers ourselves. We've paid enough as it is. We've sacrificed more than what we should have. But to us, the last 13 years and a half, I could see this happening. I needed to find a way of stopping it. I needed to keep it going. And now we're here today, and having to beg Canadian citizens to save themselves is beyond insanity. Totally beyond insane. Begging I should not have to beg. I should not have to be here doing this. People should be on board automatically. So anyways, for the sake of our children and our seniors, please, 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 you know, do everything you can, every time you can. Be there on July 30th. There's nothing more important on this planet than that day. Not your children, not your spouses, not your dogs, not your cats, not your fishing trip, not your vacation. I mean, you know, when I see people say, oh, well, I got to be going on vacation. Well, what the hell? We're losing our country. You're going on vacation? Okay, seriously, we don't have time for vacation. And it's like, you know, you want freedom, you got to work for it, people. And that's the bottom line. For the sake of those children, we can't allow them to start, you know, letting them do what they want to do to them. We can't allow this country to go, you know, even if they trash our economy tomorrow, we need to have a venue to save it. I'm just going to take a drink here. So what we've done since March 3rd is, and before, is actually let the government know that we know about this. And it would not be hard to prove in court that everything that they've done until now, we can get rid of, because this is a coup d'etat by an infiltrated government since 1982, and that national debt does not belong to us. It was illegally implemented at the cost of Canadian citizens, at the cost of our lives, at the cost of the lives of our loved ones. This vaccine spending idiocy, we need to know how much this is costing us. We need to know what's in those. We need to know all this stuff. So if you want to know all that stuff, stop listening to every medical person on the internet and start doing your work. Go door knocking, get people to sign their convention of consent on their phones, their computers. Everybody has access to computers somewhere. Grandparents have grandchildren who have them. You have a way to get this done. Unfortunately, the convention of consent is online, and it has to be there for security purposes. And, you know, people want to, well, how many signatures? We can't tell you that, because then we're showing our cards to the government. If you're going against somebody, you don't want to show them everything. You need to learn the art of war, people. Even though it's a mental war, it's a play on words war, it's a social media war, it's a whatever it is that they're doing to us. You need to wake up and to think before reacting, think before saying anything. Look at the common sense, and then you'll know. What is everybody else doing that is stopping us from saving our country? They're all too busy doing other things that will not save our country. Ask yourself, if I'm doing this, is that going to save my country? Are the measures going to stop? Are the mandates, if they stop the mandates, is this saving our country? No, they've already stolen it from us. We've got to take it back real quick. Most of the work for them is done, people. We've been asleep at the war, asleep at the wheel in this war by our governments against the people. So take your pick. We still have time to save it. But if everybody's going on vacation, might as well shut the doors down, kiss it goodbye. You know, what's more important? Collective self-determination together legally, or losing your country? Okay. So I'm going to leave you with this. I know a lot of people say, oh, Nicole's not loving enough. Nicole's not love. And, but after 13.5 years, it's hard to keep the love, people. It's still very much there. Still makes me cry, thanks to James' yesterday. I mean, I had a good blowout, tearing session. But that's why we fight. We fight for the love of the children, the love of, what's going to happen with everybody that was vaccinated. What's going to happen, the ones who are sick? Are the other ones going to be okay? What's our education system looking like? It looks like anything out of, right now, the worst thing that I've seen online, and I'm going to say this, the most disgusting thing that I see are the parades. We are turning our children and morals in this country to sexual debauchery. It's sickening. What we're seeing today is not necessary. And people are not seeing the debauchery and everything being thrown at our kids, showing 5-year-olds how to masturbate in kindergarten, books and stuff like that. Where do we draw the line? We need to get our lives back. Yeah, it is a sexual obsession. Absolutely. Child grooming. It's sickening, people. If the government thinks that Canadian citizens have mental disabilities, they need to be locked up, because it's them that allow this. And every teacher, every principal, everybody working in the education right now that allows this stuff for a paycheck, you need to be walking with your head between your legs. No offense, but you've got no morals. And this is why I have a hard time sending the love and send the good vibes. I want action, people. Not, oh, love, and do nothing. I want action. And so from me, you're getting the love in ways that it's the fight for your freedom, the fight for your children, to fight for this future, to fight for this country, to fight for clean air, to fight for everything that we need to get back, because we've lost all that. So thank you very much. I'm going to leave you with this. It's a little bit longer tonight, but I don't like to paint rainbows. I don't believe in, I love rainbows, but we need reality here. We need reality, and we need action. Every which way you can give us. And on Parliament Hill, you'll feel the love, but hey, I'm, let's get this done kind of girl. Not all rosy, and I'll be rosy after. My Rosie is inside and waiting to come out, but it'll come out when Canadians win this war against insane people that have no morals. So good night. Go to ThePowerShift.ca, sign your convention of consent, download that document, read it, spread it, do everything, but please know your rights. It starts there. Okay. Good night.